What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my 31 and 31 movie reviews for the month of October. And today is day 23. And today we are talking The Barn. I am doing both movies as one because, yes, they are two separate movies. Yes, there's a time jump between them, but they literally feel like they're movies that should be watched back to back. So that's what I did. I watched them back to back, and I'm going to review them here today. Now, if you want to see The Barn Part 1 or Part 2, they are streaming right now on Screambox. Um, Part 1, I think, is on Tubi, um, but they are very, very fun movies. So let's get into the first one at least. The first one is directed, and I know I am such a child, and I'm going to giggle at this, but his name is Justin Seaman. Damn, I thought Christmas a bad name. Just kidding. Um, And your major actors in here is Leanna Quigley, she is a scream queen from the 80s, from everything from Night of the Demons to fucking Chopping Mall to what else? Return of the Living Dead. She's been in a lot of shit. She is like a major scream queen and one of my favorites when I was a kid. Also in this movie is Ari Lehman, who is also the first person to ever play Jason as a child in Friday the 13th Part 1. He plays a run of the mill horror. I mean, you see this in a lot of horror movies around Halloween. You get the horror host doing his horror multi movie thing, kind of like the Joe Bob role. Um, so he plays a horror host doing a uh, horror marathon for Halloween. So story is there is a myth of a red barn that on Christmas, if you go to the red barn and you knock 3 times and you say trick or treat, the Lord Satan himself brings back 3 villains to come back and get meat for a sacrifice for Satan himself to bring back to hell. And they only have until the end of the night. And your villains are the Boogeyman Miner. They also have uh, Hallow Jack, the pumpkin killer. And then we also have Candy Corn Scarecrow. Now, the first one you can definitely, in this first movie, you could definitely tell this is an independent movie. They didn't have much of a budget. They suffer from the same kind of stuff as Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1, only the Barn Part 1 is way better than Winnie the Pooh Part 1. But they suffer the same thing, kind of bad masks. They did the best they can, but the movie is very, very fun, and I'm talking about the Barn 1. Um, the look of this. The look of this film, they went super hard to make this look like a grindhouse, gritty 80s VHS style movie, and it works for its charm. I love the look. I thought the look was great. Um, this look was perfected by Damien Leone for his Terrifier films. They have that same gritty grindhouse look that I love so very much. Let's go great soundtrack and score. The soundtrack and score is amazing. Like it makes you feel like this is an 80s movie. Like this is the movie you search out for Halloween that nobody knows about. Like it has a very heavy metal 80s like power metal kind of sound, kind of like how Fastway did for Trick or Treat in 1986. They did it. It's not same band, but you get the same type of style of sound. Like you get that it's a heavy metal rock and roll type of movie, and it works in its favor. It's funny that Leanna Quigley is playing a anti-Halloween person, seeing as she's one of the biggest scream queens in the world. Um, I thought that was kind of humorous that she plays this anti-Halloween person. She's like, "No Halloween, Halloween's bad. It's against God." and stuff like that. And it's cool that she plays somebody different than what she is. Of course, she's an actor. That's what they do. But I'm so used to seeing Leona Quigley play that Scream Queen, and it's cool to see her play a different role in this movie, and she plays it very, very well. Um, Ari Lehman's show, when he does his commercial, be like, show up for the movie madness. The only thing that was missing, in my opinion, and I laughed at this when I saw this, was the dun 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 dun, dun 2 more days to Halloween, Halloween. It would have fit so perfect with the Silver Shamrock song at the end of that part of his commercial. I just thought that was humorous. I was like, that's kind of cool. Um, let's talk performances. Performances were really, really, really bad to the point of like some of these I'm just like, can they act? Like performances are bad, like real bad, like to the fact like, but in a very, very campy kind of way, which works by far. Um, I thought the acting was kind of hilarious just because of how bad it was, but again, I think that was the purpose to give us one of those campy, corny Halloween movies with over the top gore. Like, don't get me wrong, the special effects and gore, so good. Really, really, really good. Um, there was some kills off screen, but that didn't really bother me because a lot of it was on screen and it was just special effects makeup was just perfect on this movie. I like it. I think it's cool. The only thing I did not like about part one was there's an end line, which really, really reminded me of Busta Rhymes. There's a line at the end where the person goes, trick or treat, bitch. And I was like, oh, that is this version of trick or treat, motherfucker, from Halloween with Busta Rhymes, Halloween Resurrection, which I fucking hate that line. And I hated the line in here. I thought it was just stupid. So as a first part, you could tell the limitations with the budget because it was an independent film. You could tell that they did the best that they can with the money that they did, and it's a pretty fun movie. I really, really liked it. Is it a perfect movie? No. Um, but it's a fun movie. I think I'm gonna start putting on my traditional Halloween movie because the first time I saw it, I was like, second time we watched last night, I thought it was a lot better than what I remember, and it was fun. It was corny, but fun. So that is part one. So part two takes place 3 years later. Because by the end of the first one, the main character Sam disappears. They leave his fate with his friend unknown, um, going after the well where Hollow Jack, Candy Corn Scarecrow, and Boogeyman Minor are from, which is the well to hell, and they are trying to destroy it, and that's how they end the first one. They end the second one 3 years later. Again, come back by the same director. This time we got a few more horror icons in this one. So when I saw that, usually the rule of thumb, I'm like, okay, if I see a lot of horror icons in this, usually it's gonna suck. So I was like, let's see. Actually, it did not suck, which was kind of shocking. This time around, we got Luina Quigley coming back. Quigley's back. So as Ari Lehman, he is back again as the horror host. This time he is trying to fight for Halloween to be unbanned by Leona Quigley. I can't pronounce her first name for the hell of me, so you're probably going to hear 3, 4 different ways I say her name. So she's taken over the church, like in the first one, but she has banned Halloween because kids have disappeared, which if you watch the first one, you know they disappeared, they got killed. So they're back. We also get now cameos who are in here from Diana Prince, who us horror hounds know best as Darcy the Mail Girl, who is a part of Joe Bob's Last Drive-In on Shudder. Joe Bob is in here as well. They both play cool cameo characters of not of themselves, but of characters, but they're small roles. Which that was my worry that they were going to be the big roles because of the big names, but they weren't. They were used very well. I thought that was awesome. We also have Lloyd Kaufman as the mayor from Tromaville. Of course, Lloyd Kaufman's the mayor. Why wouldn't he be the mayor? You know what I mean? Once you hear Lloyd Kaufman, you're like, he's the mayor. Of course, he's the mayor. We also have Doug Bradley from Hellraiser. He's in here. He plays a small role. I'm one of the characters' grandfather, who gives you kind of exposition toward these characters. I thought that was cool as well. Again, still great gore in this movie. They ramped up the gore. I thought was great. Um, Again, another great soundtrack, another great score. Again, reminds me of Trick or Treat 86. Just that heavy metal 80s score. Fucking fantastic. Love that too. We got a couple new characters this time around. They added because, as any sequel, you have to do what you did first and ramp it up to another degree. So, besides Boogeyman Minor and Hollow Jack and the Candy Corn Scarecrow this time, we have Screecher, who is a killer like crowbird, which is really cool. And we have Swine, who is a pig face demon, which is really, really cool. And we also got introduced to zombies and goblins in this one, too, which was a little weird, but whatever. I thought that was okay. Cool villains, always awesome. One thing I will say is you could tell that they had a bigger budget this time around because, like I said in the beginning of this review, they had that Winnie the Pooh thing where their first movie they made it for a shit budget, so they did the best they could and they got the masks the best they could. This time around, the masks are so much better. I definitely like the candy corn scarecrow. Under his sack, he's actually a candy, like a head full of corn, like a shock of corn, which was really fucking dope. The miner mask definitely looks better. So does the pumpkin mask. The fire inside looks way, 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 way better. So good on them for upping the budget for making money on the first one and rolling it back in. That's always good. That's what Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 did, was they took the money they got from the first one, they rolled it into the second one, and we got a better presentation for the masks for this time around. I could say the same thing about this movie as well. The Barn Part 2 definitely has more budget, definitely a better presentation all around on the way they look, and I appreciate that 100%. There's a lot of face ripping in here, like ripping the faces off. They went a lit. I mean, the first time I was like, "That's dope," and then I was like, "Okay, they're very face rippy in this movie," which is awesome, big time. Dude gets his genitals bitten off by a goblin. I'll repeat that again. Dude gets his genitals bitten off by a goblin. It happens, and it's really fucked up. Um, Acting performances are still bad in here, as they were in the first one. They're laughable in the first one. They're laughable in here as well. And you do find out that Sam survived part one and meets back up with his girlfriend who thinks he was dead after that first one. Now, for this one, I really, really enjoyed this one as well. I thought this one was good. Both back to back, the Barn Part 1 and the Barn Part 2 play great as double features. I will be doing them as double features going forward for traditional Halloween viewing. Again, know what you're getting into when you get into this movie. If you like an over-the-top, campy, fun entertainment ride, then definitely check out the Barn Part 1 and Part 2. They are fun little movies to watch. They're not too long. They're only about 90 minutes to 97 minutes long, so they're only a little over an hour and a half. Perfect length. They don't go on too far. It's not too short. I like these movies. These movies are fun. If I had to rate these movies, I'd have to say 4 out of 5. Only reason why I take a star off them is because the performance are bad. The rest are just fun. The soundtrack's great. The gore is great. The story's cool. The masks got better with the budget. The story got a little bit better with the budget. You got to do more stuff. I'm really hoping for a part 3, kind of round out that story. And I think we could get a good little holiday trilogy that can be watched every Halloween. Like I said, this is definitely in my viewing now to watch every Halloween. So that is my review for the Barn Part 1 and Part 2. Again, they are streaming on Tubi. I say definitely give them a chance. They are fun to watch. Um, Again, they are on Screenbox. Part one is on Tubi. And if you did want to sign up for a month of Streambox, it's only $7. It's not bad. I have both Shudder and Screenbox as annual memberships, which are only about 60 a year. But I like getting them because I like Screenbox because they have the contract for Terrifier. So Terrifier 3 will go to Screenbox before anywhere else to stream, which they did the same with Terrifier 2, which is a smart idea. And then I love Shudder for the simple fact they are the home of Creepshow, the show, and they are the home of the Joe Bob Last Drive-In movie marathons and movie show. So I get both of them. I enjoy both of them. They're both worth the money, and I do think both these movies are worth checking out. Now, tomorrow is day 24. I got to give a big shout out to my homie, Chris Moore, who suggested The Taking of Deborah Logan. I only seen that movie once, and I remember that movie freaking me the fuck out. So I definitely want to check that movie out again, and I'm definitely going to do that for tomorrow's review. Again, big shout out for Chris Moore. He's the one that gave me that suggestion, and I'm glad he did because I am very interested in getting into this again for a second viewing. So that is my view. That is my review for day 23 for Barn Part 1 and Part 2 double feature. And I will be back tomorrow with The Taking of Deborah Logan. And until then, stay creepy, my friends.